Howdy Chargers, we're going to be going over Financial Aid 101. So, in 2019, the 86th Texas Legislature established a financial aid graduation requirement for all Texas high school seniors. So this is a House Bill 3 financial aid requirement. What is financial aid? It is any grant, scholarship, loan, or paid employment offered to help a student pay for college. It may be based off of need, merit, or a combination of both. So we have 4 different types of financial aid. We have scholarships and grants, which are free money that you do not have to pay back. We have work study, which is earned money. And then we have loans, which is borrowed money. So there are 4 different types of financial aid that you may receive from. So it could be from the federal government, state government, colleges and universities, and private institutions. So work study is earned money. It provides part-time jobs for students with financial need. Money does not go directly towards the student's bill, so you do have to be conscious of paying that once it hits your bank account, if you do owe any money left. The award range can be from $500 to $6,000 depending on the school and the student. And it is no longer a question on the FAFSA, so it is only given upon request. So loans. Obviously, I'm not going to recommend loans, but there are circumstances where you might fall into where you do have to pull some out, and I highly recommend that you do, if you're going to pull out any, to utilize these 2 options, subsidized or unsubsidized. Reason being is because these do not require you to pay them until 6 months after you graduate, or if you drop below half time. Also, their current interest rate is 7.94% for undergraduate borrowers, and it shouldn't increase too much higher than that. They also do have multiple repayment options, whereas outside loan companies could require, a certain amount no matter what, and they can decide if they want to increase their interest rates, and all those things. So we have subsidized loan, which is the sweeter version of the 2, because the government does pay the interest while the student is enrolled at least half time, because it is a need-based loan. The unsubsidized loan is the unsweet version, because the student is responsible for all interest that accrues, because it is not need-based. And if you did decide that you wanted to start paying off this early, the interest earlier, there is no prepayment penalty. So scholarships are free money that the student does not have to pay back. They can bridge the gap between the cost of attendance and the amount of money the student has saved for college or trade school. There are academic scholarships, which are based on GPA test scores and academic achievements. There are merit scholarships, which stem from success in sports, arts, or community service. We have need-based scholarships, which support students who demonstrate financial need. Specialized scholarships, which are targeted at specific demographics, majors, or career paths. And then we have scholarships, which can be funded by colleges or external organizations, such as the Houston Rodeo. So what you're looking at here is the scholarships page that I have on the College and Career Readiness website from Crawford. And so I do have this shared with you guys, so you can click that link or scan the QR code. But here on the right, I have a couple trusted websites where you can create an account. It'll ask you a couple questions and it'll tailor scholarships for you. Around here, we have majority senior scholarships, but this one is for juniors and seniors. These 2, I mean. And then I do have scholarships by grade level. So if you're a 9th grader, click the 9th grade one, 10th grader, click the 10th grade one, and then so on and so forth. Seniors will be clicking the 12th grade one. And what it will show you is a website with a list of colleges that are in chronological order by due date. And so a few tips are that I recommend you apply to as many as you can, just to give yourself more opportunities, because you won't get every scholarship that you apply for. Also, please do not shy away from those scholarships that are lower in dollar amount, because those have less competition due to every other student just trying to do one application and be done. So they're always trying to aim for those 20K and above. But the more people applying, the more people you're competing with. And then, of course, last but not least, make sure that you meet all the requirements before you do apply, because these scholarships here are for all 12th graders, or 9th through 12th graders in the nation. So it could have a requirement, let's say, that you need to live in Florida. You guys obviously don't live there, so you wouldn't want to waste your time on something that you wouldn't be getting because you're not eligible. And then there are some school links scholarships. There are some from colleges and universities. There's a Raise Me, and then of course you can always, look scholarships up on the internet. And you can also find scholarships and school links, so just go ahead and scan that QR code to watch a video, or you can click the link from the presentation that I have shared with you all. So, FAFSA and TASFA. So, FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and TASFA is the Texas application for state financial aid. So they enable you to apply for loans, grants, scholarships, and work study programs. And they both already opened up October 1st. And I know that we will have some procrastinators, because I highly recommend you apply by October. But if we do have any procrastinators, please make sure to submit by January 15th to get priority aid. So again, all seniors will have to complete a FAFSA, a TASFA, or if you do not qualify for either, then you would get an opt-out form as your graduation requirement. So, FAFSA is for U.S. citizens, permanent residents, refugee or asylum granted, or T visa or U visa. It can even be that you are a child of a T visa or U visa. And then TASFA is for anyone born outside the U.S. who doesn't hold any of these citizenships or residencies. They do have to have a plan to graduate high school or get a GED, and they must be temporary residents such as DACA or have a work permit. And so again, you only have to do one of these two, dependent on which one of these you are. But there are some colleges, let's say you're applying on Common App, or even some colleges via their own application sites. But it is open to all students, and it is required by some private colleges, which are listed on College Board. So it is $25 for the initial application, and then $16 for any additional schools after that. But there is a waiver available if you are on free and reduced lunch. So this is the financial aid timeline you should be following. So of course, you guys should be creating y'all's accounts for financial aid, submitting all y'all's college apps all no later than November, so that you don't miss out on all those scholarship opportunities that they have for earlier deadlines, and then no later than January 15th, so that you can get that priority aid. Do you want to submit the FAFSA, TASFA, and the CSS profile if that applies to you? You can also review your financial or your FAFSA submission summary if you're doing FAFSA, just to see, how much Pell Grant you'll get, if you're eligible for any loans or work study, things like that. And then some colleges will let you know if they're rolling as soon as they receive the application, their decision on whether you'll be accepted. But then there are also those January acceptances, as well as, moving forward. So from February to April, you will also be getting some award letters from the colleges telling you, hey, here's how much we're going to give you. Here's how much you got with financial aid possibly. And then here's going to be your cost of attendance. And there are award letter analyzers that you can use to help narrow your decisions. But there is an annual decision deadline of May 1st. So make sure that you do not miss that, because they will give your spot to the next student in line. And then also around this time, you will be scheduling or going to your freshman orientations. I highly recommend, once you do commit to your college, that you register for your freshman orientation immediately so that you can get the first orientation spot possible. The reason why you do want the first orientation spot possible is because that is whenever you are going to sign up for your classes. And since seniors, juniors, and sophomores do get priority pick for the classes, you guys will be almost getting the crumbs, and you don't want to choose the last day for freshman orientation, because then you get the last pick of all the freshmen. So make sure that you do that early. And then same goes for housing. So make sure that you do also apply for housing so you don't get the last pick of the dorms, if you're happen to live on campus, which is required by some colleges for their freshman year. And so again, just to reiterate, there is a priority deadline to submit your financial aid applications, which again is January 15th. If you do not submit by this date, you can miss out on Texas grants such as Texas TPEG or the Texas Education Opportunity Grant, as well as institutional grants. So there are institutions who, if you fall under a certain threshold and meet a couple other requirements, you could be eligible for tuition guarantee programs. So you don't want to miss out on those. And of course, you can always come ask me and I can help you through these applications so you don't miss the deadline. And so, just to review, if you are a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, refugee, or asylum granted, or a child of T visa or U visa, you will be doing the FAFSA. If you are a DACA student, you hold a temporary work permit, you are an undocumented student, or waiting for legal status, and must have lived in Texas for 3 years leading up to graduation, then you will be doing TASFA. If in the instance you just got to Texas last year and you happen to be one of these, you would not be eligible for even TASFA because it has to be 3 years. And so that's when you would do an opt-out form. So FAFSA. If you are doing FAFSA, who needs to create an account? So if your parents are married or remarried and they filed jointly, then only one parent needs to create an FSA ID because both of their information will say the same thing. If your parents are married or remarried and they filed separately, then both parents' information and FSA ID is required. If you have parents who are not married but they live together, then both parents' info and FSA ID is required. And if your parents were never married, separated, or divorced, then the parent that provides the most financial support is the one parent who has to create an FSA ID. So the FAFSA submission summary is what you will receive once you complete your FAFSA application. It is broken up into 4 tabs: the eligibility overview, the FAFSA form answers, the school information, and next steps. And so the section that needs attention will be labeled with a red exclamation point shown here. But the eligibility overview is basically telling you how much you may receive for Pell Grant, loans, or if you may be eligible for work study. The FAFSA form answers is you being able to see exactly what you chose when doing your application. So if you think that this is a little low, then you might want to check this and see, maybe I accidentally put that, the student made $30,000 instead of like 3,000 or something. And then school information, you can only add up to 20 schools. If you happen to be applying to more than that, what I highly recommend is you submit and wait for your application to be processed. And then wait for at least one college to reach out to you saying, hey, we received your FAFSA. Thank you so much. One less thing for you to do in order to receive aid or scholarships. And then once you do get one of those types of emails, you can go ahead and add another 20, and then so on and so forth. The only thing that you will have to change the next go arounds will be the school information, unless you did have any of these flags. And then of course next steps, will tell you your next steps. And so FAFSA has a student aid index, which is basically an eligibility number that your school uses to determine your federal student aid eligibility and to build your financial aid offer. And so they also call it the SAI. So they do have, if you have a student aid index of negative 1,500 to 0, then that means that you will get the full Pell Grant of $7,395. If your SAI is over 0, what you're going to do to find out how much you'd be awarded is subtract that number from 7,395. And so let's just say your SAI was 100, your award amount would be 7,295. And so this is just an overview of the FAFSA process. So the student will create their FAFSA ID, as well as invite their parent, and then complete everything for their portion. And then their parent will create their account if it's not made already, complete their part, and then all of you guys will just sign and it'll be complete. And so if you are a TASFA student, it is still a free application that collects information to help determine the eligibility for state financial aid programs administered by institutions of higher education in the state of Texas. As a reminder, you must have lived in Texas for at least 3 years leading up to graduation. So on the right here, we do have the TASFA paper application. It can be found in both Spanish and English. So if your parents only speak Spanish, then you may want to use the paper one. And it is fillable so that you don't have to write on it and then them question, hey, is that a E or is that a 3? Who knows? And so TASFA does have a couple of documents that are needed when they are to make it complete. And so there is a checklist here that I will have available for students. And then also it is shown here. And so you can complete the application online, and just make sure that if you are going to do it this way, as it may be easier for most of you, that you do type in this link, because it is case sensitive, so the lowercase e and then capitalize everything else. You will need a copy of your 2024 tax transcript, which is separate from your W-2 and your income taxes. You also will need a residency affidavit, which must be signed and notarized. And then if you are a male student, you do have to register for the selective service. And then in the event your parent did not file taxes due to not having, let's say, a social or an ITIN number, then they will also have to provide a copy of the non-filer form. And so this is that affidavit that I was saying you do have to get notarized. Please ask me who offers it here on campus for free so that you guys are not having to pay. And this is what that tax transcript looks like, which is completely different than y'all's tax return and W-2. This can be ordered online, by mail, or by phone. If you are going to order it by phone, I do have a script that you can follow on what to dial, what to say, all those things. And so just follow this. And then I do have, if you're going to request by mail, you only have to fill out those things that are circled in red. So this is the selective service registration form here. This asterisk is to remind you that this is for male students only. So you will fill out this form. Keep a copy of this form because most universities will just allow a copy of the form. And then once you submit that, you should receive the card in the mail within 30 days. And before you submit that card later, you make sure that you sign the card right here. But you must be at least 18 years old to register. So if you happen to fall below that, then you don't have to do it at that point, but you most likely will the year after. And so, what if your parents don't file taxes and don't have a social or an ITIN number? There are special circumstances for non-filers. So there are templates that you can use if you go to this website here, but basically you will have to provide a form saying, hey, I'm the parent of so-and-so. I work in, let's say, general construction in Houston. I do not have a social nor ITIN. And so for that reason, I did not file taxes. And the year for us is going to be 2024. And then you will say, I provide financial support for my child, name, and then how much your earnings were in 2024. And then, of course, you will have to have this signed and notarized before you submit. So the TASFA submission steps are as follows. So you will be gathering your required documents and working with me to complete the TASFA application. You will collect any of those extra documents and fill out any college-specific forms. Make sure to triple check all documents before you submit electronically, by mail, or by delivering in person. And make sure to follow up with colleges to confirm your Texas residency status. You may be asked to submit a core residency questionnaire. And so, to meet this Texas graduation requirement that I mentioned earlier, students must complete one of the following. So if you are doing FAFSA, then you must submit the FAFSA. Submit the TASFA. If you are doing TASFA, submit a signed opt-out form if you do not qualify for either. And once completed, students must upload proof in school links by submitting a screenshot of your TASFA confirmation page with your name visible. Your name must be visible or I will deny it because I do not want you guys passing around a photo, or a copy of your signed opt-out form. And so you can click this link to watch this short tutorial on how to upload your financial aid confirmation in school links. And so this is a opportunity that I'm having for families and students to come to the cafeteria October 22nd, 5 to 7 p.m. So it's after work hours. Just make sure that you bring the following documents so that we can better help you during your application. And don't forget to follow the CCR Center on social media. Here are all the @. And this is for the Schoology group for students to join. And of course, you can always visit the CCR website. Make sure that this is case sensitive. So this is capitalized, this is lowercase, this is capital, and this is lowercase. So, it is time to create your accounts. So if you are doing FAFSA, make sure that you go to studentaid.gov, and TASFA, make sure that you go to bit.ly.eTASFA and make sure that it is case sensitive. But most of all, please make sure that you use your personal email address only, as your student email will delete upon graduation. And this is an application that you do have to do every year you attend college, and so you don't want to be locked out of your account. And thank you so much for watching my financial aid presentation. Please let Ms. Whaley know if you have any questions. Thank you.